Coming up next on the Northwestern News Network, the American Airlines strike is now over. So what does that mean for Turkey Day travelers and you? We'll tell you. And we'll also take a look at some serious health issues on campus, including some surprising new statistics on AIDS and what they could mean to you.
Plus, human Frogger. Many students are playing it every day. We'll show you where. And Jason Overstreet will bring us a wrap-up of this year's football season, plus a look ahead to basketball. That and more coming up next on the Northwestern News Network.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Northwestern News Network. I'm Todd Fleischauer.
And I'm Blair Martin. Nearly 21,000 American Airlines flight attendants are now preparing to fly the friendly skies again. President Clinton stepped in to end the 4-day-old strike and says today that both sides have agreed to end the dispute and begin negotiations. It was 1 week before Thanksgiving that American Airlines flight attendants sent travelers scrambling to find alternative ways of getting home for the holiday. But now that the strike is over, what does that mean for travelers?
Well, Blair, even though flight attendants are expected to go back to work Tuesday, many travelers' plans are still up in the air. Many people who had first planned to fly American rebooked their flights on other airlines, and now the question may be, which ticket is valid and is that money going to be refunded? American Airlines officials have not yet responded to President Clinton's announcement, but they're expected to later this afternoon.
Many students' plans of getting home for the holiday were disrupted when the flight attendants began walking the picket lines, but with today's announcement, they have hopes of getting home after all. But is it going to be that easy? Linton Johnson tells us about some problems travelers might still run into.
There really is something special in the air as an end comes to the 4-day American Airlines flight attendant strike. The announcement of the strike's end is bringing relief to many students who were booked on American.
Oh, I'm so relieved that the strike is over because I was having mass confusion over what I was going to do this Thanksgiving break because I have American airline tickets, but I'm sort of on United, but I'm supposed to call back and I can't get through with American. Now that the strike is over, I can actually go and have Thanksgiving dinner in peace.
I think that's great. I have a lot of friends who are going to be stuck and now they can go home.
The end to the strike isn't ending the problems, though. With the limited number of seats on other carriers, many travelers were planning to fly standby. Now they're scrambling to get their seats back on American. If you're holding an American Airlines ticket, you have two options. Either call your travel agent or do what these people are doing, coming to the American Airlines terminal and getting a refund. American says if you bought a non-refundable ticket, they still will refund it today, but that policy may change tomorrow.
I think my best recommendation to students would be to call your travel agency or stop by one on campus or call our 800 number at 1-800-433-7300 and they'll be able to help them.
You should reserve a seat as soon as possible so that once again, you can be back to flying those friendly skies. For Northwestern News Network, I'm Linton Johnson.
Of course, not all of you are flying home for Thanksgiving, so we decided to find out just how some of you are getting home. Here's the NU view.
Mark.
How are you getting home for Thanksgiving?
Actually, I'm going to a friend's house for Thanksgiving.
Oh, I'm not going home for Thanksgiving. My friend from Kansas is going to be coming up for like 5 or 6 days.
I'm going to take the plane. I'm attempting to fly on American Airlines. So it looks like I'm driving.
I'm going to be driving home.
I'm not going home.
On the train.
I'm flying home for Thanksgiving.
I'm getting a ride with a friend from campus.
I'm not going home for Thanksgiving.
I live nearby, so my parents are driving me home.
I'm taking a plane.
In health news today, there are some new statistics out on AIDS that specifically target college students. A recent report says that more than half of all college students are at risk to the deadliest of all sexually transmitted diseases. The report says that 60% of NU students are having sex without protection. And as Holly Doyle reports, campus health officials believe there are a lot of people out on this campus who could be HIV positive but aren't being tested.
AIDS testing is on the rise here at Northwestern. Over the past 8 years, the number of students being tested has more than tripled.
My recollection of when we saw the increase was back in, I think it was 91, late fall 91, when Magic Johnson announced that he had HIV.
While HIV testing is increasing, last year only 500 students were tested, a mere 7% of NU's enrollment. Statistically, 80% of college students are having sex, and a large percentage of those frequently do not use protection. Groups such as New Star are putting on firesides, such as this one in Bob McCulloch, to teach students to become sexually safe. In this fireside, students learned about AIDS prevention, not from statistics, but more from the heart.
I was very scared when I came here. Everyone was all excited about life and, whoa, we're in college, we're in big time now. And I was thinking about death.
Louise Chamberlain, a Northwestern student, was there to tell about her father who died from AIDS.
We as students, university students, aren't isolated from this disease that affects every one of us. You know, we have this attitude like, you know, we're all intelligent people and it's not gonna touch us.
I've never seen people like that, but I'm sure glad that I did. I was actually half forced to come. I'm glad I did.
If you're in the percentage of those college students at risk,
HIV testing is available here at the health service. It's available both confidentially or anonymously.
I'm Holly Doyle reporting for the Northwestern News Network.
It costs $16 to get an AIDS test at Searle, and there's also free and anonymous testing at the Evanston Health Center.
And in other health news involving blood, Student Blood Services last week held their second blood drive of the year. They're hoping to give hospitals the shot in the arm they need to replenish dwindling blood supplies. So Amy Nuzzo and Mary Jo Lippman have more.
NU students are rolling up their sleeves by the hundreds and giving the gift hospitals need most, blood. Since September, blood banks in the Chicago area have been in a state of emergency. Hospitals have had to postpone elective surgeries, including transplants, until the shortage is over. Not only is the number of donors down, but hospitals are using more blood. Types O and B are in greatest demand. Northwestern Student Blood Services has been recruiting heavily this fall, and United Blood Services of Chicago bank on NU's consistently high turnouts.
You have 6 drives a year, 2 per quarter, and you're looking at anywhere from 350 to 450 donors every time you sponsor a drive. It's an incredible contribution.
This drive pulled in 360 units, all of which will go to help patients in the Chicago area. And how much can one donation do?
It's broken into 4 parts and it can help 4 different people.
To ease their pain, students snacked on free Dan's cookies and juice, and the movie Naked Gun calmed shaky nerves when it came time to grin and bear it. Those students will have helped 1,400 people. SBS volunteers can take pride in knowing their recruiting efforts were not in vain.
And more than 500 students gave a pint or 2 of their blood in this quarter's 2 blood drives.
Well, what do health and electricity have in common? They're 2 things people generally take for granted as long as they're going good. But when something goes wrong, you definitely feel the effects. Like when bad wiring caused the power to go out last week for much of South Campus. The power outage sent students pouring out of darkened lecture halls and into downtown Evanston trying to find a place to eat. Power is only partially restored at 1835 food service in time for lunch, creating a candlelight atmosphere complete with plastic utensils. Perhaps the biggest headache for students was having to reset clocks and VCRs. Again, the basics of life that we often take for granted. 1835 Hinman and Fisk Hall, so close and yet so far apart with Sheridan Road between them. We'll tell you what it'll take to fix the crossing chaos.
And later in sports, it's time to put the woes of football behind us and look ahead to the winter sports season and basketball and all that good stuff. And in entertainment, the battle over Beavis and Butthead here on campus. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Thomas A. Griffin, and you're watching Northwestern News Network.
Jeffrey, hitting is wrong. You're bigger, you're stronger. You cool off and you don't hit. Period. Is that understood? Is it?
Well, is it? Take time out. Don't take it out on your child. A public service message from the National Committee for Prevention of Child Abuse.
Hello, you're watching Northwestern News Network. This is J. Roscoe Miller, but you can call me Ross.
This past weekend, many freshman women got an opportunity to take a closer look at the sorority houses on this campus. Panhandle held its first ever open house on Sunday, giving potential rushies a chance to learn a little bit more about the Greek system and the sororities before rush begins next quarter. Panhandle hopes this event will encourage more women to rush, as well as give them a little more perspective on the houses before they dive headfirst into rush. And by the way, rush for fraternities and sororities begins January 4th and runs for the first week of winter quarter.
Now, there are a lot of stereotypes that go along with the Greek system. Sorority girls are often seen as ditzes, and fraternity guys carry the party reputation. But one of the biggest stigmas attached to fraternities and sororities is their reputation for being exclusive. Penn Hell and the IFC want to get rid of those stereotypes, so they put together the Colors program to promote racial and ethnic diversity on this campus. Reporter Dina Witter takes a closer look.
For many people, the words fraternity and sorority conjure up images of rowdy tailgates and wild parties. But Northwestern Greeks are quick to point out that they are concerned with serious issues like racism. That's why they sponsored Colors, a week-long campaign to promote racial sensitivity.
Greeks are stereotyped to be very exclusive, or, rich white kids and like involved in social clubs, and I think that this would give them a chance to expand their horizons, just to know what it is like to just to have them experience different cultures.
The program featured big-name speakers, including Harvard professor Dr. Alvin Poussant. But for some Greeks, the most beneficial part of the week was the chance to experience discrimination firsthand. Representatives from each chapter gathered here at Blomquist Gym for a game called Archie Bunker's Neighborhood. Officials divided the students into separate ethnic groups, gave them different amount of resources, and allowed them to build their own communities.
I'm hoping that the students will maybe take a glimpse into themselves and realize that, while they're working across campus or whatever, that just because they feel like they're being treated okay today, that there's somebody who isn't.
The program was produced by the Interfraternity and Panhellenic Councils, but other campus groups, like the Black Greek Council and the Asian American Advisory Board, also pitched in.
I think Northwestern's Panhell and IFC have done a great job.
This is Dina Witter for Northwestern News Network.
Last week, we took you inside the Daily Northwestern and showed you what it takes to crank out the student paper day after day. Today, Amy Nuzzo and Mary Jo Lippman continue their report with a look at how the paper's staff deals with the complaints as well as the praise in Part 2 of the Daily Grind.
The staff at the Daily Northwestern puts in a lot of overtime to get a paper out every day. Their work isn't completely without recognition. The Daily has repeatedly won awards from the Illinois and Columbia Collegiate Press Associations. But with the accolades come the attacks.
A lot of times they really don't take the time to get all the real information, and they tend to sensationalize things that aren't really sensational.
We're very negative about the Greek system, which I think is true, but it's still unfair for them to portray it so negatively because it's such a large part of the campus population.
No one really takes it too much to heart when people say, the Daily sucks, the Daily this, the Daily that, because it's sort of fashionable on this campus and seemingly on every other campus to sort of bemoan the campus paper. What I mind are when people think that it is some sort of, malicious or deliberate attempt, that we try, because I think a lot of people think that the Daily screws things up deliberately, just because they want to screw with people in the school, and that's really not true.
When we write the editorial,
the opinion page forum is one of the most popular sections and also the most controversial. Some think the edit board leans a little too far to the left.
The editorials are awful liberal. Many times. I guess that is kind of annoying.
Yet editors find they have to weed out an overload of letters from radical groups.
We get from the International Socialist Organization, the Students for Objectivism, groups that have something they want to get out, and they write about it constantly. We try not to print all the letters from them because we could just turn the forum page over into the Ayn Rand forum page.
Freedom of speech is alive and well at the Daily. Students mince no words in responding to columnists they love to hate. Sports columnists are fielding the most negative feedback.
I want him dead.
Stone Kleiman.
Kleiman, a big person to bash. We love it. We love putting Kleiman letters in because he's a funny guy. I think he likes it too. He writes his columns so that people will write letters for the forum page. So we kind of feed off each other. We need letters. He likes to supply them.
But what would campus life be like without the banter of student voices?
If they didn't print a newspaper every day, people would miss it. People would miss the advertisements for the things they could do. People would miss the stories. People would miss the coverage of this campus. People would miss the times that we come out with a story that shakes things up.
I like to read the editorials. I like to see what people are arguing about on campus and kind of see the back and forth going on.
I like the focuses, good stuff. I like Calvin and Hobbes. I like the letters when they're good ones in there. I don't like the lame letters where they argue over what's PC or what's not PC, stupid stuff like that. I think that's pretty lame.
Still, the Daily staffer remains a mystery to many.
You'd think that they'd have the little printing caps on and all the pencils behind their ears and they'd be just cool, super newspaper dudes, but I don't think they're like that. I think that they're all communists.
A typical daily person is a total and complete nerd. You got to have a certain amount of passion for journalism, and also care about what the student newspaper can be. Care about what people pick up on a day-to-day basis.
Mary Jo Lippman for Amy Nuzzo, NNN.
How many times did your mom tell you to look both ways before crossing the street? Well, there are a couple places on campus where you should look both ways and then run for your life. Alan Heyman takes a closer look at one of the tricky traffic tie-ups and tells you what can and cannot be done about it.
How many times have we seen this picture before? The cars, the bikes, and of course, the people. It's the 1800 curve of Sheridan Road at South Campus Drive. And as anyone who's tried to drive through that intersection or across the street there will tell you, it's a real pain.
It's pretty bad. I try to avoid it whenever possible.
But the constant power struggle between motorists, pedestrians, the curve, and the weather here on Sheridan Road is more than just a nuisance. It's also a big source of accidents, 18 per year on average.
There have been a few times where I've almost gotten killed. I think they might want to look into putting a stoplight.
According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, there are 11 situations that call for putting in a traffic light at an intersection. An ASG study done last March showed the 1800 curve involves at least 3 of those situations.
We're calling for further traffic regulatory measures, which could be a light, which could be a blinking yellow light, which could be, there's a lot of things that could happen.
But because Sheridan Road is part of an Illinois highway, the study and its recommendations are now in the hands of the state. According to Senator Kofel, neither ASG nor the university knows how long it could take for improvements to be made, if at all. So in the meantime, as one student put it,
It feels like I'm playing a human game of Frogger.
for the Northwestern News Network, I'm Alan Heyman reporting.
It is a scary place. I almost get flattened every single day when I'm going to class, and I think the only solution might be a bridge across the road.
That might work. Keep people warm at least.
Keep us warm in the wintertime, yeah. That's coming up really soon, next quarter. All right. Coming up next, though, Jason Overstreet will be here with sports and show us how Ricky Birdsong's Wildcats are hoping to be more physical this year.
This is Eric from the Info Desk, and you're watching Northwestern News Network.
Late one night in
Every week for the past 4 years, Stephanie has read stories to a room full of Savannah, Georgia preschoolers. Every week, the look on the children's faces is priceless. The love that Stephanie feels from every child has made her life a whole lot brighter. Even though Stephanie has never even seen their faces. To see how you can help in your community, call the Points of Light Foundation. Do something good. Feel something real.
My name is Patrick Malloy, and I'm a check cashing attendant, and you're watching Northwestern News Network.
And now Jason Overstreet is off the field and here at the news desk to tell us about some winter sports coming up.
First we got to take care of football season. Luckily, it's over. A long season's finally ended for the Northwestern football team. The Cats finished the year at 0-8 in the Big Ten. The last 2 weeks have been pretty brutal. Against Iowa, even the mascots were getting into it at Dyke Stadium. We pick up things in the second half, 13-6, Iowa leads. The Cat defense makes a nice stop at the goal line, but they can't hold on the second time as Paul Burmeister scores on the keeper, making the score 20-6 Hawkeyes. Steve Schnurr started the day in the place of the injured Len Williams. Do you think the Cats missed his mobility? Yeah. Luckily, Northwestern still had Dennis Lundy to run the ball. He pounds it in, brings the Cats within 7. But the Cats could not come back and win this one as they end up being smashed, at the hands of the Hawkeyes. I think that pretty much sums up the whole year for NU football. Final score, Northwestern 19, Iowa 23. Northwestern finished the year getting walloped by Penn State 43-21. I was going to show you highlights of that one, but I think we've suffered enough. Do you really want to see any more highlights, Blair? I don't think so. They lost. It was horrendous. Maybe next year will go better. You probably don't want to talk about Iowa around the athletic department these days. The football team loses, and then the Hawkeyes knock the NU field hockey team out of the season in the second round of the NCAA tournament. But the Cats' first round match against California, the victory on November 11th, was one of the most exciting games you're going to see. Some rough play at the beginning of this one. Cold day at Dyke Stadium. You see the hockey stickers getting into it. Becky Brown with a nice pass to Trish Tulloch knocks it in, makes the score 2-0 Cats, but the Bears came back to tie it up, and the game went into a shootout to decide the winner. Cal scores first, but then Gretchen Sherman answers for Northwestern. things are all knotted up when Cal is denied, setting up Kelly McCullum with a chance to win the game. The crowd on their feet at Dyke Stadium, silent, awaiting to see who is going to win this game. Kelly shoots it, and she scores! Northwestern wins it to advance to the second round against Iowa. Wow, what an exciting game. Situations like that just give me chills. That's why I love covering sports. Congratulations to the NU field hockey team on a great season. Now, another team accustomed to reaching the NCAA tournament is about to start their season. Don Pirelli's women's basketball team gets their regular season underway Sunday, November 28th, when they host Illinois State. The Cats will be serious contenders for the Big Ten this year. Matt Harrison takes a look at the 1993-94 team.
Coming off of last year's second-round NCAA finish, Northwestern's women's basketball coach Don Pirelli is having to rebuild after losing 3 players to graduation and 1 to a transfer. Last year, point guard Nancy Kennelly finished her spectacular career first in the Big Ten and 4th in the NCAA in all-time career assists. She will be missed along with 3-point specialist Kelly Cook, who left Northwestern last spring for the University of California, Santa Barbara after 2 years as a Wildcat.
Kelly Cook's transfer hurt us in that we don't really have a backup for Myra Kennelly at the point guard spot. Fortunately for us, we haven't had too many transfers.
On the plus side, the Cats are returning their top 3 scorers and leading rebounder from last year. Senior guards Maureen Hallahan, Myra Kelly, and center Trish Babcock are this year's co-captains. Their job will be to lead by example with their performance in games and practice. Hallahan says the younger players are holding their own.
The freshmen have taken their lumps, and a couple of them are injured, and they're fighting to come back. But today we looked really good. Katrina was in there, Trish was in there, Kenya and Mary are still hurt, but they're fitting in pretty well now.
The injuries have been a problem in the early going, sidelining 3 freshmen, 2 of which are still missing practice. Coach Pirelli shares in their pain.
We have had a lot of groin injuries, and that's something that we can't seem to figure it out. I feel like a college professor who was given a test and everyone's flunked. And I'm trying to look at what I did.
Despite the troublesome early goings, the Cats are showing they have the skills to take a chunk out of the Big Ten this year.
We feel we have a good group of kids. It's just going to be, when are we going to put it all together, and when is everyone going to gel? That's going to be the big question.
For the Northwestern News Network, I'm Matt Harrison.
The other NU hoop team will also begin their season soon. Ricky Birdsong's team won both their exhibition games last week, squeaking by Marathon Oil 71-70 on Saturday, and then pounding the Latvian select team 73-50 last Wednesday. Let's take a look at some highlights from the Latvian game. Here, Patrick Baldwin leading the break, dishes it off to Kevin Rankin, who puts in 2 of his 25. Now Patrick leading the break again. This time he fights Kip Kirkpatrick, who puts it in the hole, and he's fouled. Kip finished with 12 points. Sharpshooter Todd Leslie's back on the floor this year. He hits the 3. Todd can stroke it with the best of them. Notably absent from this contest, Evan Eschmeyer on the left and Cedric Nelms on the right. They were benched, but against opponents like this guy, it doesn't really matter who played. Come on, buddy, hit the weights. Speaking of hitting down low, big man Dan Kreft, he was banging hard on the inside. Notice the black shoes on Kreft. That's because they don't make size 20 white ones. Poor Arvidas Grigluga sitting there on the bench after being pounded by Kreft. Oh, that guy's just not feeling too good. Maybe it's just me, but after seeing a team from the former Soviet Union and Dan Kreft together, I can't help but think of Dolph Lundgren as Ivan Drago in Rocky. I don't know about you, Todd, but I'll have to ask Dan if maybe he'll do an impression, you know? I'll break you.
What more could you ask for? You've got impressions and everything, sports, right here with Jason Overstreet. Anyhow, when we come back, Kathy Becker will give us a look at Beavis and Butthead here on the Northwestern campus.
And later, we'll hear about the latest talk show host to hit Chicago, Bertice Berry. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Joe Camel, and you're watching the Northwestern News Network.
Boy, I really did it last night. Got drunk, acted stupid, went home with... Who is that? What, am I stupid? How did I do this? Barry began to worry, really worry. What about AIDS? Then he remembered, hey, I'm just a cartoon. I don't even have to shower. Get high, get stupid, get AIDS.
Hi, I'm JT from the Browsing Library, and you're watching the Northwestern News Network.
Well, here she is again, Kathy Becker. She's got the latest entertainment news this week. Kathy?
Thanks, Todd and Blair.
As we all know, political correctness gets a lot of lip service here at NU. And here's what happens when that totally incorrect duo, Beavis and Butthead, elbow their way into campus life.
It's offended women's groups, gay rights activists, and even animal lovers, yet people ritually gather around their TV sets and kick back to an hour of unbridled stupidity. Be it trash or true genius, MTV's Beavis and Butthead has people talking.
Our whole society is going to pot.
It's just not right. It just doesn't it can be funny. Doesn't harbor any good thoughts. It doesn't harbor anything positive.
Advocates violence, sex, just like any other TV show.
I can't watch this. Yes! What's that? You should know, Butt Munch. This is Metallica.
MTV pushed the segment to a later slot after incidents of violence by child viewers thrust the show into the headlines. Some people are worried that Beavis and Butthead is more than just a silly cartoon. Here's what NU students have to say.
I don't think it's for kids. I think it's for people our age, and in that context, I think it's a great show.
I think it's adult humor, and I think if adults find it funny, there shouldn't be a problem.
With these incidences with these kids burning down their houses after watching the show, I think it's just ridiculous. You know, I think that comes down to poor parenting.
Personally, I think it's a kick-ass show, but I wouldn't want my But I wouldn't want my if I had younger siblings, I wouldn't want them watching it.
All media is dangerous for kids. All culture is dangerous. All art is dangerous for everyone. We usually have about a crew of about 10 or 12 guys just sitting around with a couple beers, hanging out with Beavis and Butthead.
Amy Nuzzo, NNN.
You can catch these two at 9:30 and 10 o'clock on MTV if you're one of the lucky ones with cable. Of course, if you're not so lucky, there's lots to do here on campus. And here's how some NU students plan to keep themselves entertained this week.
Going out up north.
She trying to go out.
I'm trying to go out.
I am going to Billy Joe with a friend of mine.
Sleep the rest of the weekend.
I could be going out, but I'm not because I'm a dork.
I am staying home and studying. I'm being good.
Football game, basketball game. It's more than enough Wildcat sports for one day.
Probably sleep.
That's all, folks. I'll see you next week.
Well, there's a new talk show host here in Chicago, and her name is Bertice Berry. Here's a behind-the-scenes look at the latest star.
And I think one of the things that's happening is I toured like 250 appearances a year, and probably 190 of them were colleges. And so I have a huge following from colleges, and they know of me, and anytime they're in the area, they want to come. I don't come in here with the notion that I'm competing with another talk show. I'm competing with me and what God has called me to do. I didn't realize it was a dream come true. I had an art therapy class when I was back in undergrad, and one of our assignments was to fantasize about some project that you'd someday want to do, and then to complete it for that semester. My fantasy project was to somehow use humor and information to present ideas to people, and so I did this mini kind of talk show thing for that class, and I completely forgot about it until after I signed the deal for this show.
Well, that's it for the Northwestern News Network today. We're going to leave you with a look at a traditional dance.
It's called Diwali, and it's a dance that celebrates the beginning of the Indian New Year. Until then, we'll see you next quarter.